What's going on, Nittany Nation? Welcome to the Penn State Rivals YouTube channel. As always, I am your host, Josh Taylor, and on this episode, I'm going to be taking a look at the Penn State Auburn preview as our Nittany Lions travel down to Auburn to face the Tigers at Jordan-Hare Stadium, where, trust me, as a closet Alabama fan, I've seen plenty of craziness at Jordan-Hare Stadium. I see the kick six in my sleep about 3 times a week, especially around football season, but there's just you never know what can come from this matchup. And I'm really intrigued actually by a couple things with some matchups and the line with Vegas and how a lot of people really see this one. But nonetheless, the first thing that stands out to me is Penn State is finally ranked number 22 in the AP poll after not being ranked to start the season. But of course, a convincing, hard-fought, gutsy win at Purdue. And then also, kind of blowing out Ohio at home. And then just a lot happening in front of them with a ton of upsets. Nonetheless, Penn State moves up into that top 25, finally cracking at number 22. Auburn is 2-0. They are not ranked, and rightfully so. Actually, something that blows my mind is that Auburn actually starts the season with 5 straight home games. How that happens, I have no idea. They have 5 home games, and then they travel to Georgia. But they have 8 home games this season and 4 away. Must be nice. I'd probably want to play Georgia at home, so they probably should have swapped one of those. But for me, Auburn hasn't been really tested yet. I think that's one thing that stands out right away is Penn State has been tested. Like I said, that gutsy come behind, game-winning drive by Sean Clifford at Purdue in a hostile environment during their blackout. Now they go to Auburn for their orange out, and they'll have to do the same thing against Michigan for the maize out. So it seems like all these teams are really saving their sold out, their version of the white out for Penn State when they come to town. So take that how you want it, but it seems like teams might be intimidated or threatened by how good Penn State is this year. One thing that stands out to me is that Auburn last week, I didn't watch the Mercer game because it was 42-16, and they should have absolutely blown out Mercer, and they did. But San Jose State, they won 24-16. Like I said, they held on to that one. But the Auburn offense that I've seen is very familiar Auburn offense. The thing is, it's not the same as in the past. When they had Johnson a few years ago, that's more of what I've seen. Not like the Bo Nix Auburn. More of the RPO, play action, very limited in the passing game with TJ FInley. He's very mediocre. I'm not going to lie. He's, his feet are threatening on the ground game, but throughout the air, I'm not worried about him at all, especially with this defense, and I'll talk about it. But TJ FInley, starting out the season, is 22 for 34, 279 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. Against Mercer and San Jose State, he already has 3 picks. He should have 3 picks against Penn State, nonetheless. But then they also have backup quarterback Robbie Ashford, who comes in. He's only 5 for 10, 101 passing yards, no touchdowns and interception. But he's also the second leading rusher on the team with 13 rushes for 129 yards, no touchdowns. So he'll come in. Like I said, once again, a lot of RPO, a lot of option stuff, a lot of play action when he does throw the ball. When you look at their quarterbacks and how they really, have success on offense, what they want you to do is be scared of the run, load up the box, bring as many people as you want forward to try to stop the run. And then, of course, it's his job to read with the running back if his path is cleared, and he'll hand the ball off to him. And if not, he'll pull it and he can run it, or he can pull it and he can throw it. So what they want to do is they want to lure you in with stopping the run, because they have Tank Bigsby, who's I would say unanimous top 5 draft prospect at running back. I think he's going to be a great pro. I can't wait to see him get the heck out of Auburn. But he has 29 rushes for 198 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is impressive with how much they run the ball. They have like a 3-headed monster at running back. And then, like I said, they have the quarterback. Both quarterbacks can run the ball. So they are a very run-heavy team. And Penn State's defense allows only 80.5 rushing yards per game. King Doru for Purdue has more success than I thought he would against Penn State's defense. So I think this is a phenomenal test for that front 7 to see, how they can really withstand the run. But like I said, Auburn really wants you to come and respect the run so he can pull it out and, fake the run. And then there's either one of his favorite tight ends open, or you'll have a wide receiver down the field open because you're worried about the run. You're bringing guys back and they want to play behind you. That's how they really pull people. So Jarquez Hunter's the other running back, 16 rushes, 75 yards, 4 touchdowns. So you have to respect the run. This is your test to see if you can, keep up with Michigan, Ohio State when they run the ball. There's, Braylon Allen, Wisconsin. There's some really good running backs in the Big Ten. I think Tank Bigsby's, and not even just him, but this whole running game is a top 3, maybe number 2 running game that Penn State's going to play this year. So this is a huge test. I think that's really the only area where they can get Penn State is if they just run the ball down their throat, wear them down. I don't see Finley having nowhere near the kind of passing game that O'Connell had. They're completely different quarterbacks, and offenses are completely different. Purdue wants to throw it 50 times a game. I guarantee you Finley's probably going to throw it, I'd say 15 to 20 times, and they don't want to throw too much because they know Joey Porter Jr. and Jair Brown, Wheatley, Hardy, Ellis, all those guys are phenomenal matchups. I think that's the one weak point for Auburn is you cannot just tell Finley, hey, throw the ball. You have to go out there and win this game because it's going to get ugly quick when Penn State gets all these turnovers. Their leading receiver is Jarvarius Johnson, 7 catches, 158 yards, no touchdowns. But then also, they always have a tight end that has some awkward number every single year, and I hate it. It's like a mind game thing. He's number 25, I think. That's John Samuel Schenker, I think his last name is Schenker, and wide receiver Shedrick Jackson, who both have 5 catches for 64 yards. Schenker has the only receiving touchdown out of that core from Finley. So they line them up in line a lot of times, the tight ends, and as the play develops, like I said, RPO, he has a delayed route. So you have to watch for these kind of things. Auburn, it's not how it used to be back in the day when Cam Newton and them were there with all this, trick stuff and just flashy offense. But still, you really have to respect what they do on the ground. I mean, Penn State, like I said, hasn't really been tested on the ground like they have this year. But Penn State's got their own rushing attack too with Nicholas Singleton. I think that game against Ohio was obviously just a coming out party for him. Ever since that game, just mainstream media on the news, I've seen nothing but stuff about Nicholas Singleton. 20 carries, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns on the year. I mean, that last week, really, he has 10.5 rushing yards per attempt, which is number 1 in all of FBS right now. People on This Just In with Max Kellerman were calling him like the next Saquon Barkley, just saying, hey, Penn State is for real. And I told y'all beginning of the season, this is where the biggest difference is going to be. Penn State the last few years, I'd say since Saquon, honestly, haven't had that home run ability of Nicholas Singleton. I've been pounding the table like saying, like, guys, you're going to realize quickly how much of an impact Nicholas Singleton will have on this entire offense, this entire team. The outcome of the season will be heavily on Nicholas Singleton because last year, no offense to Kevon Lee, or Noah Kane, they just didn't have that. Their average, 2.5 rushing yards per attempt. This guy's got 10.5 right now, and I know it's only been 2 games, but still. That explosive ability, that home run ability in the running game is huge. People have to respect you, and it spreads things out for guys like Mitchell Tinsley or Parker Washington, Lambert Smith, or the tight ends. Theo Johnson might be back for this game. He's been at practice. He's been practicing. Theo Johnson might be playing. But if not, Tyler Warren's looked phenomenal. Brenton Strange has looked phenomenal as well. But Auburn's defense, they allow 16 points per game, 236 passing yards per game, and only 64 rushing yards per game. I think Auburn's strong point in this defense is definitely the defensive line and the linebacker core. They are as physical and fast as they have been in years past. But compared to last year's game, which Penn State won at home 28-20, by the way, crazy game. I mean, even before I started talking about Penn State football, I watched that game probably 5 or 6 times around draft time because there's so many draft guys. There was Jaquan Brisker, Roger McCreary on the other side. But this Auburn team's different than it was last year. I think last year's team was better by a good bit. Say what you want about Bo Nix, but the passing game was more of a threat last year. And now they're just leaning heavily on being able to run the ball kind of like they did back in the day. I mean, a few years back. But then, like I said, Roger McCreary, their best lockdown corner, he's not there. Smoke Monday, not there at safety. Zacoby McClain, gone. Those are 3 big-time pieces, and then you add Bo Nix to the equation. Obviously, Tank Bigsby's back. That's their biggest piece right now on the entire team. But defensively, this is not as good as an Auburn team as we've seen in the past, especially that game last year, which was just wild. That was one of my favorite games to watch last year, honestly. But you're traveling to Jordan-Hare. They came to Penn State last year. It was the whiteout game. It's a big-time game. Crazy atmosphere. This one's at 3:30 Eastern time, so 2:30 Central time over in Auburn. I like that. I'd rather this not be a night game where the crazy kick six happens. The tip in the Georgia game where 2 guys are going for the pick and it goes over his head and it hits the wide receiver in stride to win the game for the upset. Crazy things happen at Jordan-Hare at night. Midday, it's scary, but it's nowhere near the effect of a 7 o'clock game where it's 10 o'clock and that place is jumping. Trust me, I have seen many of games at Auburn, and it's real. The atmosphere is real, but Penn State atmosphere I think is even better than Jordan-Hare, especially this year. I mean, you barely beat San Jose State. You convincingly beat Mercer. But this is the game where people are going to show up and show out. Penn State fans are traveling well to this game. Everything I've seen says that they're traveling well. But the defense, man, I'm telling you, Auburn's defense, if this crowd gets into it and they're making big plays, they're stopping Nicholas Singleton. They're stopping Kevon Lee. Katron Allen, I think he's going to play. I think he was a little banged up. But if this Auburn defense really gets things going, they allow 300 total yards per game. But they haven't been tested yet. They haven't seen the weapons of a Singleton. I'll even say, Sean Clifford, anywhere near that caliber of quarterback. Mitchell Tinsley catching the ball on their corners. Parker Washington cutting across the field on skates. Brenton Strange mossing up their linebackers. They haven't seen that kind of weapon yet. So this is a season test for both teams. If you're Auburn, if you're Penn State, this is a huge measuring stick. But Penn State's 3-point favorites, and they usually give 3 points to the home team. So they're pretty much saying this is a 1-touchdown game for Penn State. But I honestly don't see a formula where Auburn just really wins this game unless Clifford just plays terrible. Nicholas Singleton does not run the ball well. And I just don't see that happening. You have to respect that front 4. I'll even say front 7 of Auburn because they are so fast. They are physical. They're going to run at you. But I've seen so much sloppy, unorganized football from Auburn so far this season. But they do play up to the competition. Like I said, look at every time they play. When Alabama has to travel to Auburn, they always play up to them. Look at the game last year. It should not have been that close. Should not have took this Heisman moment from Bryce Young to come back and win that game. But that's what they do. They're going to play up to Penn State. So you can't look at that San Jose State and that Mercer game and be like, this is the exact team we're going to get, because it's not. You're going to get a hungry, more physical, fast Auburn team. But then also you cannot compare that team to last year. I think it is a completely different team. I think they have too many missing pieces for Brian Harson's team to really have a chance in this one. Like I said, guys, when I'm looking at this and just trying to break it down, completely unbiased. If Auburn was the better team, I would tell you. I told you that Purdue was going to pass the ball, pretty well against Penn State. Penn State's going to have some trouble with some big plays. I'm going to keep it honest with y'all. But I haven't seen enough. They're down 10-7 at halftime to San Jose State at home at night. Like, come on. You're struggling against San Jose State, but Penn State's going to come to town, and y'all are supposed to just magically get better. I don't see it. The only way I see Auburn really having a chance in this game is if they run Tank Bigsby, Jarquez Hunter, some of these guys, just run them to the ground, somehow get success against this Penn State defense, and control the game. Let FInley open up and have some kind of big plays, run the ball, pass behind the secondary, get behind the linebackers. And FInley has to have no turnovers. This 3 interceptions in 2 games, that can't happen in this game. So my key is if you are Penn State, you're PJ Mustipher, Chop Robinson, Adisa Isaac. You're on that D line. You have to play A1 football. But then also, I'm looking at the linebackers, Curtis Jacobs, Sutherland. You have to be disciplined. I can't tell you how many times I've seen an undisciplined Alabama defense against Auburn's offense. You're respecting the run. Everyone's going one way. Quarterback pulls out, goes the other, kills you on the ground. But then you have a spot. You bring him down to cover the other side of the quarterback, and the quarterback starts to run. He pulls up and throws it behind you, and there's a guy wide open. It happens. That's what makes this so tricky. And this is why people loved, the option when it was around, like RG3. These kind of quarterbacks, when it started flashing, 2012, around that area, because you have to respect the run from the running back, the quarterback, and then you also have to respect the pass. It just spreads your defense out and puts a lot of stress on them. So once again, linebackers, you got to be A1. But then behind that, Wheatley, Hardy. Then you got, of course, Jair Brown, Ellis, Kobe King, another linebacker. But then these corners, I don't think these wide receivers for Auburn can keep up with a Joey Porter, with a Jair Brown at safety. I think that's what really makes the difference in this. I think Penn State's solid in the front seven. I think their back four, back five, depending on the formation, is their real strong suit. And Finley's going to be forced to throw the ball to win this game. And I just do not trust a TJ FInley throwing the ball. I think Clifford has a great game. This is a game where you don't want to do too much. You don't want to get too cute with things. Run Singleton, run Allen, both Allens, or Katron Allen and run Kevon Lee. But let Clifford let it rip. Find those mismatches, because Auburn's got to respect the run game just as much as Penn State has to respect theirs, especially after that Singleton performance. That was the coming out party for Nicholas Singleton. I think he's going to get a bulk of the carries. I don't think Kevon Lee has that same juice at all that Nicholas Singleton does, but goal line situations, third and short, something like that, absolutely put Kevon Lee in there to just, hard nose, run up the middle. But then also you see these catches like he did against Purdue, that game winner. So there's just so many weapons for Penn State, and we're seeing it. I think they caught 17 different people caught passes last week, and they said last year only 16 the whole season caught passes. So it just shows you that they're loaded all over the place. And I said last week that game against Ohio is going to be a great game for guys to get some valuable reps for a game like this when you're traveling to Auburn. Whether someone gets hurt or someone's playing awful and you have to replace them, that was a game where you're getting in-game reps as a young guy. So if someone goes down, you're called up to play at Auburn, you're ready. I honestly have this one 34-20. Like I said, I think the thing when we come back, and I'll do, a recap show Saturday night. I'll be watching the game. I'm off all weekend. Is Kobe King, Jacobs, Elston, Sutherland, those linebackers. This is going to be their best game. This is their game to show out. This is your stage. You have to be physical, but not too aggressive. Do not bite on some of these fakes because you think something's about to happen. And then before you know it, there's a tight end, there's a wide receiver behind you who's wide open because of the option. Because of the RPO, the play action, the rollouts, the boots. They're going to mix it up. They're going to come at you with everything they have. But I have it 34-20 Penn State. I just think at the end of the day, that talent just doesn't match up this year. Harsin just doesn't have as much as he has had in the past. So I got this one, Penn State 34-20. Let me know what y'all think. And like I said, I'll be here for the recap show to really take a look at it. I think player of the game, I think Singleton can go two for two in a row, man. I think he's hot from last week. This is a great spot for him. Once again, great test. If you watched Auburn against San Jose State last week, their defense is fast and all over the place. But I think if you have a guy that has the juice like Singleton, he can get around a couple of these guys that are over aggressive and just take one to the house. So I'm going to go Singleton 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think he gets 2 touchdowns. Again, I don't know if it'll be as long as the ones he had last week, of course, but still nonetheless. And I think up front, PJ Mustipher just closing up that line, not letting Tank Bigsby get through, not letting the run game with the quarterbacks just pushing through the line, getting in the backfield as quick as possible. That's the key, guys. Have to play disciplined football. Do not try to do too much. because this Auburn team, even though they haven't really scored much this year, 42 and 24, they can still put up some points. Like I said, they will always play up to you. That's just what they do, and somehow they have the biggest home field advantage of anyone else in the season with 8 home games and 4 away games. But hope you all enjoyed the video. As always, drop your predictions, what you think. Appreciate y'all running the subs up on the channel and checking everything out. Like I said, we'll be back Saturday night for the recap and hopefully talk about a Penn State win. See y'all Saturday.